if you asked me if I was happy back in my early days, I couldn't even answer that question.
Yeah.
And now today it's key. I mean, it's one of the top 5 things in my life. I want to feel that joy and that happiness that I'm being, that I really know who I am, and I'm being the best version of who I am, and that I'm making the choices and taking the actions, and that I have control over what I can control.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Life Happens podcast with Barb and Michelle. We're so excited to have you all with us for today's conversation. It's going to be a good one. After last week's conversation about multitasking and the power of presence, we had a lot of feedback, a lot of questions. We felt like there was so much more to say. So we're going to kind of piggyback off of last week's conversation and dive in a little deeper and talk more about some of the nuances, the emotions, the benefits, everything about presence, how it's your power, and so much more, which I'm excited about. So let's dive in.
It's
hey,
my
Mom.
favorite subject. Hi.
It is your favorite subject.
Yeah, because there's a lot of nuances to it. You use the word a lot, nuances. There's a lot to it. And I feel like last week we really laid the groundwork.
Yep.
And laid the foundation and kind of sowed a lot of amazing seeds that we can talk about tying together why there's so much controversy about multitasking and all that and understanding what that means. That's why I almost don't even like those definitions and those words anymore, because we all multitask. We almost always do more than one thing at a time. I think the idea of thinking that we're ever going to not do one thing or we're ever going to not do a couple things at a time is a stretch. And I don't like to use that anymore because I don't want people to think that this is so hard.
Right.
So today I hope that we can kind of put a little bit more ease into it and really help people understand how powerful it is and why it's so important to just get a little bit of a grasp on this idea that doing many, many things at one time and thinking that we have to. Maybe we could even start there today. So I'm excited about continuing this conversation.
Yeah, what really prompted this for me too was just the amount of people I know right now who are feeling overwhelmed and completely burned out. And like we talked about last week, we're in a busy season, we're in a new season, lots going on, lots of pressure, lots of responsibilities. And it's a little daunting to feel that we're already overwhelmed and burned out, kind of starting this already hectic time. And it was really important to me and to us to kind of help everyone sort out what we can do to ease some of this overwhelm and burnout, to find more happiness in our regular lives. You know, yes, life is stressful and chaotic and uncontrollable. We know this. There's so much on our plates at all times. So rather than feeling like we have to fix our lives or make these grand, massive changes, what can we do to find the happiness, to find the ease, to find the peace in the lives that we're already living? And so I was really hoping that today's conversation could be about those small entry points, those small changes that we can make to manage all of these things that we talked about last week and forever.
And we'll talk about today too. So you don't have to have listened to last week, but it's definitely could be helpful.
Yeah.
I think one of the words you used that I'd like to start off with is fix. We're constantly thinking we have to fix something. We have to fix our life. We have to fix this. We have to fix that. I know that I felt like that in the very beginning of my life, all the way until I did go into treatment for bulimia. So instead of fix, maybe we could look at how can we shift things? How can we just make these small little shifts in our lives where we actually start feeling like we're gaining not only control, but moving forward? And maybe this episode could be about how can we take these little tiny steps, or how can we make these little shifts? And what we talked about last week was being more focused and more present and more understanding of what we're feeling in the present moment and all of those things. But really just kind of dial it back a little bit. We don't have to fix anything. They're not broken.
Right.
I thought I was broken. Went into treatment, thought treatment was going to fix me, and got out and I realized that I didn't necessarily need to be fixed. I just needed to change and start shifting my thought processes, start shifting how I was doing things, and start really making these small changes one at a time that got me, really to where I am today. We share experiences, which is not being perfect, but I actually feel like that I have a sense of control over my life.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that. And then also, I just want to say that there's a lot of suffering in life today. in the external world. So
Absolutely.
if you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling burnt out, you're feeling like you're not enough, you're feeling like I just have to figure out how to catch up with myself, all of those things, join the club. We are all in that
It's
same boat
normal.
together. We are all trying to be in this boat of life, you know, striving to live our best life possible and learn and grow and become, you know, a better version of who we are from the inside out. So we're all in this together. So it's not there's nothing wrong with you, and you don't have to fix that you're not feeling settled sometimes, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're feeling anxious, or you're feeling sad.
Yeah.
I've definitely found myself feeling more sad than usual.
Yes.
And not about my own self or about things that I've done, which was the past.
Right.
Or used to be how I thought about things. Barb, what'd you do wrong here that you're feeling so sad or feeling guilty or all the things? A lot of it is the energy that's in the world today. There's a lot of suffering happening right now. So giving yourself a break on that as well.
Yeah, that's important to note because we are living in very wild times, and there's a lot of emotion and a lot of things going on that elicit a deep emotional response. And I think expecting yourself to be, you know, at tip top shape when going through, you know, very unprecedented things is just not, you're setting yourself up for failure or for to let yourself down. And I really love that you keyed in on the word fix. And I think this could be a really great center point for this conversation, because even when you think about being more present or being more focused, feeling like if I do this, I'll fix myself, or I'll finally have all those things that I've been looking for, or live the life that I want to be living. That too sets us up for disappointment. Like, I'm doing all of these things and it's still not working. And then that adds and feeds that chaos, or that, you know, almost the hamster on the wheel, running and running and running, trying to get to somewhere. Like there's some sort of destination or goal to achieve. Like if I do all of this enough, I will be in that fixed or healed or enlightened, you know, all of those words that we hear in this space a lot. And so breaking down that word and helping people maybe try and remove it from their vocabularies when they view themselves or how they want to shift things in their lives. I think it's important because that word is so charged. Even saying it, like I need to fix myself, it adds to the anxiety and the overwhelm and the pressure. So, you know, starting this conversation through the lens of overwhelm and burnout and just feeling like there's not enough time, there's not enough resources, there's just not enough. Also adding on top of that I'm not handling it right and I need to fix myself, really like doubles, triples, quadruples that pressure, at least from my experience.
Yeah, because it sends a message that there's something wrong with us, and that I know this personally, and I love that we only share our personal experiences here. We're not talking metaphorically, or we're not talking about a pie in the sky out there. We've been through everything that we talk about. And I went into treatment thinking I had to fix myself. And I got out of treatment thinking I was fixed. And then I went into the world and I was still, oh my gosh, you're still damaged. You have to do all these things. You have to figure all this out. The world is still chaotic.
Right.
You know, and that was in 1984. So it took me a while to figure out, wait a minute, I already am phenomenal. I already am a great human being. I already am everything that I need to be from the inside. I don't need to fix myself from the inside. I don't need to recreate whoever I think that I am. I need to look at my behaviors and my actions and my thinking, most primarily, and my judgments and my worries. And I need to think of all of the things that the mind is telling me is wrong with me, because there's really nothing wrong with me. And I remember back then reading that book, It's Okay Not to Be Okay. Mm-hmm. And I love that, you know, it's okay not to be okay. And now I've kind of morphed that into, it's okay to be exactly who you are. It's not okay to have some of the negative thinking behaviors that don't serve you and that aren't true. It's not okay to have some of the behaviors that I have that are punishing myself and others. It's not okay to have those things. Mm-hmm. So I want to separate that. We are extraordinary human beings from the inside out, from the get-go.
Yep.
But we need to take action and take steps into correcting, into shifting, into making some of our actions and our behaviors more in alignment with what is going to serve us in the world and the people around us. I think that's the key to everything as well. I think understanding that we're not trying to fix and become someone that we're not already. We're trying to make changes to, make shifts to, look at ways and have tools that we can start to become the boss of our own lives and in the actions that we take and the thoughts that we think.
Absolutely. And a lot of the shifts and the tips that we talk about in all of our episodes, but today specifically, it's not about the fixing, but it's about what are you doing repeatedly on a daily basis,
Yes.
mentally and physically, and how is it making you feel?
Yes.
And the burnout, the overwhelm, the anxiety, the doubt, the comparison, the criticism, that's very real. We all feel that from time to time, and seasons come and go that bring it more than others. But it's what can we do, or what are we doing, or what are we saying to ourselves to feed something that's a little more nurturing, or are we piling onto it? Are we participating in actions that are going to nurture ourselves and fuel ourselves, or are we going against our own best interests? And that to me, is the fixing. It's the shift. And it's just about doing what is good in the moment and what's going to serve my best interests or my highest good or my goals or my intentions in that moment. And so if I'm feeling pressured or overwhelmed or stressed, like there's too much being asked of me, I have too much on my plate, I have so much to do, instead of powering through, which I would have for most of my life, I've now learned myself well enough to know, okay, I just need to pause and stop what I'm doing, close my eyes, maybe just go be in quiet, breathe, whatever, wherever I am, take that beat to just reconnect. And that gives me the momentary nourishment, but also the peace and the presence that I'm looking for to help me move forward. And you talk about so often the power of some of those small shifts, the taking a moment here and a moment there. And that really does start to influence, because you can re-enter your life in a more presenced way, in a more peaceful way, in a more grounded way. And that influences the next moment and the next moment and the next moment. And then that builds your confidence too. You can really start to see the benefits and be like, wow, when I stopped right there and took those few moments, I felt so much better. And then I was better in that meeting, or I did better on that test, or I engaged with my friend in a more meaningful way. And you say, yeah, I'm going to do that next time because I literally saw the positive outcome. And to me, that's what's like the most rewarding thing of really making these shifts and these changes, is to see that positive outcome and letting it build.
Well, I think, Michelle, what you said is it's everything. And we talk so much about awareness is key.
Yep.
And so becoming aware. So the only way that we can become aware is by pausing for a second. So reflection helps us start to become aware. And then once we're aware, I love the idea of aha moments, because when an aha moment hits you, that's awareness. Oh my gosh. And then the key to awareness is key, but for me, the key to awareness has been recognizing. So I pause again and oh wow, I felt this 3 days ago. So you start to kind of put the two things together. So we do become the scientists of our own life. So pausing and interrupting that thought pattern, because a negative and a positive thought cannot exist in the mind at the same time. So if I actually do start the practice of taking a pause if I'm feeling overwhelmed or if I'm beating myself up. And one of the greatest stats that really changed my life too was the worry stat that we came across when we were doing one of our workshops one day. We started looking at worry because so many people were sending comments to us, I'm worried, I'm worried, I'm worried. And how much of worry is occupying our space today?
Well,
how worried are we today? We're all very worried.
To interject, we live in a very worrisome time.
We do.
There's probably never been I guess I can't say that. I haven't lived in other eras.
We've always had.
We live in a time of worry. I mean, not to plug my own book, but I wrote an entry in my new book that's coming out in November, and I cited my all-time favorite song, which I know I've talked about on the show, John Mayer's Age of Worry, because I feel like, for me, that song, which was written long ago, it got me through. I listened to it a lot during the pandemic. It really encapsulated so much of what I felt on a global, universal level, but also what was going on in my own life. I had so much worry, so much anxiety, and that song was really like a salve for that time. So if you need a song, that's a great song. My point to that saying, to all of that is, worry is a theme of what's happening for us in this moment. And that stat that you were talking about that they determined is that 85% of what people worry about never actually happens. So, maybe if you're listening to this or watching this, think about the things that you repeatedly worry about. And then if you can, is that true for you? It probably is. But then what is also super interesting about this study is that the 15% that does actually happen, the 15% of the things that you worry about, it happens. You actually handle it better than you thought you would.
Yes.
And that for me is like the icing on the cake of literally everything we talk about. Because when we talk about being present, when we talk about taking a beat before responding, when we talk about meditating or breathing to connect with yourself, or journaling to clear your mind, or repeating affirmations and mantras to create new grooves in the brain. All of that for me is so that I handle life better than I thought that I would, or maybe better than the 15 seconds ago Michelle might have before learning this new thing. And when I show up to life or have a challenging experience or any kind of experience, and I handle it in a way where I feel pride or feel proud of myself or even confident in myself, wow, you handled that so well. You didn't knee-jerk react, or you didn't stoop to someone else's level, or you didn't X, Y, or Z. That makes everything worth it. That is like my reason why I do all of these things. And I don't know. That's just what I, it's not to feel like I'm healed or balanced or fixed or any of those things. It's literally so that in each new moment, I handle life in the way that I always hoped that I would.
And I think what you're saying so beautifully is too, that you recognize that when you don't give in to the worry of something that you have no control about in the moment, the 15%, yes, maybe you do have control over, but when you don't give in to the 100% of all of the worries that you have, it builds on your confidence. It builds on all that. And I think what I loved about what you were saying is what this quote did. When I read this stat, it's not a quote, it's an actual stat. It's a research stat. You can go look it up.
We'll put
put it in the show notes. But when I read, this is the awareness, when I read that, it shocked me. Yeah. It shocked me that 85% of what I worry about never happens. And then what really elated me was that the 15% that does happen, I handle better than I thought. So what that did for me was the awareness that, oh my gosh, Barb, most of what you worry about doesn't happen. So it got me into that mode of becoming aware that the minute that I start to worry, I do take the pause. It's like automatic. Wait a minute. Can I do something about this worry? Is there actually something that I can do to take this worry away? Mm-hmm. And if it is a global thing of all the crises in the world, or if it's something, I had my best friend when she was dying. Mm-hmm. I constantly was worried. And I remember thinking, Barb, wait a minute. Can you change this in the moment? No, you cannot. Mm-hmm. What can you do? And so it just shifted me like massively. So when we say small shifts of awareness of something is key, and then having this, but then the other greater awareness or the greater thing that happened is when I do start to worry, I immediately, it hits me like a beautiful ray of sunlight. It hits me like, wait a minute, Barb.
My mind went to a ton of bricks and your mind went to a ray of sunlight. No, it hits me
like a beautiful ray of sunlight because it's like recognizing, wait a minute, Barb. This is a worry you can't do anything about. You've been there, done that. You're not going to waste the rest of your life. Be there, done that. You need to, so I take the pause. I take the breath and I think, okay, but is there something that I can do? And I want to say what I love about this is usually 90% of the time, there is some little small shift.
Yep.
Or
Or
some little
action.
small action I can take. Like the minute I thought about my friend who was dying of pancreatic cancer and she lasted only a few months, there was a thing that I could do. I could call her. And I was afraid to call her because I didn't want to make her more sad. You know, you get into that thing. Oh, I don't want to make her more sad. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I don't know what to do because she lives so far away. I called her and it was one of the best conversations we'd had. So it helps you become aware and get creative. That's where I was going with this as well. As I said in the last episode, I've become much more creative. Wait, because I had the space and the worry was gone because I was thinking positively.
Right.
I had the space and I thought, yeah, give her a call and just say, hi, I'm thinking of you. I love you.
Well, also what I know that you do is you talk back to yourself.
Always,
Or talk
always,
back to
always.
your worry. And that comes with the awareness that the worrying thoughts or the nagging thoughts about the what ifs or what could happen or the anxiety, when that comes in, being present to it and talking back to it. And you talk to yourself. You're like
All the
the
time.
queen of
All the time.
of advocating for having healthy conversations with yourself and talking to yourself like you would a best friend or a loved one. But so when that worry or that anxiety comes in, how do you talk back to it? How do you talk to yourself when you feel like you don't have enough time or you're overwhelmed or you're burned out or you don't know what to do? Reminding yourself of what's true, like you with your friend. I can't control this. There is nothing I can do for her with her health condition. But what can I do? I can call her. If you're worried, what is the small action that you can take to positively benefit your mind and your current situation to ease some of that anxiety and that worry, to help you feel like, again, you can't control life, but you can control how you're responding to and participating in the current situation.
And this is your resilience.
Yeah.
This is your happiness.
Yeah.
This is your space this is your place where you're actually feeling in control, if you want to call it that. And if I gave everyone that listens to this podcast, if I gave you this one thing, I would feel like it was a effort and a experience well said. Because if you could just get that talking to yourself is the greatest thing that you can do in life. I'm telling you, because when you take the pause, when you intercept that thought pattern for that 1 nanosecond, you have a little tiny, 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 tiny space. And I always say, what's happening with you right here, Barb, and what can I do?
Yeah.
And it opens up a world of options, of possibilities, of curiosity, of creativity. Because, okay, if I'm worried about her, okay, nothing I can do. And then I go to the next worry. I'm worried about her family. Well, nothing I can do in this moment about her family, but I can connect with her family later. Mm-hmm. Like I could be a person there that could be helpful. So it opens up so many good, it maybe isn't even, just beautiful, creative. I
love that you use the word creative.
Yeah, really beautiful possibilities that you can do later that make, at the end of the day, we want to feel good about ourselves. We want to feel joyful. We want to feel like we matter. We want to feel like we're doing things. We want to feel, life is not necessarily about, I don't want to, how do I want to say this? That, I don't want to be selfish because I don't want to make it all about me, but it is about us.
You're the only one that lives in your mind, in your life.
Yeah, we want to feel like we are making a difference or that we're doing some little small step that could help in a situation like I just discussed with my friend. So we do want to feel that. But then the flip side of that is we feel that and we're doing maybe 10 times that more to the people that we're trying to love and help. The benefits are so huge, and we can only really notice the benefits and feel them by actually doing the practice. Right. Actually taking that pause and talking back to yourself and talking, naming what's true and naming what's false. And then really understanding that my resilience and my happiness truly lies in this one small step.
Changing of the seasons and heading into fall always makes me want to freshen up my space, add some new pieces, get creative, and really spice up my life and my surroundings, which is why we're so excited to be partnering with Wayfair. Wayfair is the one-stop shop for everything you need, from your home, your office, to where you create. They have everything. I've loved finding pieces for our new Life Happens studio that have really made this space feel cozy, comfy, and inviting, as well as just a nurturing space to have these life-changing conversations. The best part about Wayfair is that everything arrives hassle-free and super fast. I never have to worry about if my stuff is going to get here on time, and I know that everything is going to arrive and just be absolutely perfect for my space. So if you're ready to create spaces that inspire you, head to wayfair.com today. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Yeah, that one small step and then another and then another, and taking those actions and making those shifts, it really does build the confidence within yourself, but also within your life, with feeling like you can manage things, or that, with your friend and that happening, that was quite a few years ago now. But, I know that if something like that were to happen now, you would take what you learned from that and apply it to your present. And
I think instead of being worried about the situation, possibly, who knows? We'll know when the time comes, when something like that similar comes up. I would honor the feeling of being sad. I think I worried first and then was sad later. Like, it's hard to, I have a little bit of tears right now. It's hard to feel the sadness sometimes first. It's hard to feel our own pain sometimes first. So we jump to worry, or we jump to how can I fix this, or how can I control it? So I'd like to think if I'm in a similar situation, I'd feel my sadness first. I'd maybe cry first instead of jump into fixing and savior mode or whatever it was I was feeling. You're right. That was, I don't know, 12 years ago. 12, 13 years ago. So I just feel like we become more wise, for sure, more brave, and more honoring of what's happening for us in every moment, so that we can be who we desire to be in the next moment, or the next moment, or the next moment.
Yeah, that's another great point too. In high stress situations, it's really common to bypass the emotion to then go into the fixing mode, or to the what do I need to do, or go into to take action, and letting yourself feel whatever the feeling is in that moment, and then getting to the action step is also super important, especially for your emotional well-being.
And that ties directly back to our episode last week, into being present to your emotions and your feelings and stuff, and not just to keep pushing through, but to actually take that 1 second pause. Oh, I'm feeling this right now. I'm sad. I'm angry. Okay, Barb, so maybe you'll give her a call after you finish this task at work. So it's not like, don't pay attention to what you're doing at work. It's like honoring the moment. I'm feeling really sad right now. Okay, my action's going to be, I'm going to go call her when I'm done working, or whatever it is. Like, I think unfinished business plays into this as well. Were you going to go to that? Because that's a huge one of mine. Yeah. And unfinished business with emotions. Like, we want to ignore it, where if we honor every present moment, we're actually doing the thing, and it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, so then we can go to the next present moment. It's very subtle, but I've seen it happen in my life so often, where if I'm feeling an emotion, I actually name it, because I talk to myself all the time, and then I say, but finish your work right now, because you're at work right now, Barb. And then you'll do this at 5 p.m. when you get off. Like, really being that specific. So that I don't have it hanging in there. I have so many loops that aren't closed.
Right. One of the things that you and I talk about a lot.
So that I don't have so many loops that aren't closed.
Closing the loops.
Yeah.
One of the things that you and I talk about a lot in our personal lives is unfinished business, and how much, specifically you, but for me too, but that really nags at you and weighs heavy on you when you feel like the loops aren't closed. And I would wonder, what do you think about what leads us to feeling like life is left open-ended or uncertain? Is it that we are at times so scattered and starting things, interrupting ourselves, getting distracted, not being present, starting something else, that leads us to start things and not finish them, compounding the unfinished business? Can you talk more about how this splintered presence and multitasking and worry and anxiety then can lead us to have more of it, because so many things are left undone?
That's huge. And you're right. It's
a very simple question.
Yeah, no. The whole idea of unfinished business has been a thing that I've really taken deep dives in for decades, because I I'm a perfectionist. I'm a type A. I like to get things done. I like to do that. I like to close loops. I like to, do one thing and then do
Check
it,
things off the
check things
list.
off or whatever. That's just part of who I am. And I think when we accept who we are, then we can then take, instead of trying to fix myself, I don't think that I can fix that. And nor do I necessarily want to. And we don't need to. We don't need to fix ourselves. We need to look at what is it that causes us.
Suffering.
What is it that causes me to suffer or be anxious or be overwhelmed or be inadequate or all the things that we call ourselves or feel guilty or judge? So I look at unfinished business as really like the example I just gave, or another one would be if I have a project to do or if I have something that I'm supposed to do or that I need to do to finish a project or to finish something that I'm doing for a friend, or even if it's just as simple as making the phone call. This is where procrastination comes in for me or for anyone that's listening to this and can I identify with what I'm saying. So I look at, are you procrastinating and why? So it really, Michelle, it ties to me talking to myself. When I get to a place where I keep rolling over something that I've needed to do but haven't gotten done, I finally get to a place where I get exasperated because it's unfinished and I'm really starting to get upset with myself. So then I take the pause, but you're upset with yourself. Why? Or what's happening in this moment that you're upset with yourself? And I'll say to myself, because I put this off, I was supposed to call her like 10 days ago and I haven't done it yet. So that's what I mean about unfinished business, and where it's really become a huge thing for me. So you asked, what can you do? Take up a practice of talking with yourself. The minute you feel the emotion, so it's 4 things. You feel the emotion. Oh, you may be lying in bed trying to go to sleep, and I'll say, oh, I still didn't do this thing. I still didn't call this friend and tell her what she asked me. She asked me for, my opinion, or she asked me for something. I still didn't give it to her. And it's 9:00 at night and I'm trying to go to sleep. That's for me what unfinished business means. And I used to take it a step too far years and years ago, where I would try to end the year with no, remember that? You and I had so many conversations about that. So sometimes I can get pretty anal about it, pretty like it has to be done because of my perfectionistic, thing that I have to get this done. So I finally, over the past 5 or 6 years, thought, you know what, there's going to be business that flows into the new year. Why am I trying to be so exact about this and punishing myself? And I'm causing my own
adding stress.
Yeah, I'm causing my own suffering. So I say that in the effort of helping you take up the practice of talking to yourself. How else would I become aware of these things if I didn't notice the feeling and then name the feeling? You're feeling overwhelmed because you have all these things that you haven't done that you've wanted to do. And then, okay, now what can I do? So naming the action. You're feeling this feeling. Okay, Barb, instead of continuing to feeling the feeling and start beating yourself up that you're inadequate. Oh, I knew you weren't good enough. I knew blah, 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 all the things. People don't respect you anymore. People are going to think that you don't care about them. Instead of writing all those stories that we write, stop those negative thoughts in the mind that aren't true. What's an action that I can take? And then I actually name the action. Then I actually name when I'm going to do it. Okay, this is the action you can take, and you can do it at 1:00 because you have a break or you have nothing going on at 1:00. And I can't tell you the relief. People talk about this often. I have my to-do list, and when I check the things off, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
And then I actually add things to the list that I can check off because it feels so good to check things off. This is similar.
It is.
But I name it as unfinished business because it's important for me. If I've made a commitment, that's business, kind of. It's like a thing that I've made a commitment, and this is what I've said I'm going to do. And I don't want to.
Honoring your word.
Yeah, honoring my word. So those 3 things. The key thing is naming how you feel. So you have to pause. Whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, you have to take the pause and take a couple breaths. Say, what's happening in this moment? Oh, I'm feeling sad.
Yeah.
Okay, so what can I do about the sadness? And sometimes nothing. Just let yourself feel it. Sometimes there's an action. Okay, I feel sadness. Okay, so I want to take this action.
That's a super interesting and important aspect of this conversation, because I think oftentimes, if you were to think about or try and take an inventory of what's giving you the most overwhelm in any given moment, or what's providing the most anxiety, or what are you stressing about, or what feels like it's really nagging on you, if you took an inventory of all of those things, I wonder how many of those things are kind of those small, relatively, minor tasks that we've been putting off or procrastinating, like calling someone. Like as you were talking, I was realizing that there is like I've been meaning to call someone back, and I've been procrastinating it for a lot of reasons, but it subconsciously has been weighing heavy on me, like, oh, another month has gone by and I haven't called this person, and what does that mean about me, and what do they think about, like, all of the things.
Yeah, you start writing the stories that take up all the energy and time, and you still don't call them.
Right.
And another month goes by.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not a major life loop that's open. It's not like, oh, I still haven't finished writing the book that I've always wanted to write. It's a phone call. So really getting aware of what are the aspects of your life that actually are weighing on you, maybe subconsciously, that you haven't actually identified until you give yourself the time and space to acknowledge them, I think is super important. And again, having that conversation with yourself of like, okay, is this something that I actually need to do or want to do? What is the action that I need to take? And, making that commitment to yourself of like, okay, by this date, I'm going to take this action to let myself off this hook that I've been on for however many months. That's really, really helpful, because I think many of us have these lingering, gnawing things that we feel like we have to do that, again, are compounding our stress and overwhelm and anxiety. And how can we start to interact with those things and make a decision and take action, or decide that maybe we don't need to do it? Maybe it's something that we think we should, but it's not necessary.
Can I just interrupt? I just have to, because
Yeah.
I'm ready to explode right now, because what you just said is
Don't
amazing.
explode.
No, it's amazing, because what you're saying is exactly ties into this thought process that we're trying to do a job of explaining, that there are things that maybe we're thinking about that we have to do. Like you're saying, do I need to call this person back? And if we take the pause, if we take the moment, and not when we're working and doing 20 other things, literally take the moment in quiet for that second, we may come to the realization that it's the stories that I've written about. Oh, what are they going to think of me? Oh my gosh, I'm such a bad person. That we start writing so many stories that they're not even thinking one thing about us. We're thinking that we got to call them back because we've written a story that we think maybe they don't like us anymore. Or we think maybe we've done something and that's why they haven't called us back, when there's no reason for them to necessarily call. It's all those false, untruths, really chaotic, unproductive, really dangerous. I wanted to use that word, but I was kind of backing off because it's dangerous thoughts that we have, that we think that we have to do, that erode any kind of confidence, resilience, or love that we could have for ourselves and how we live our life.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because I think some of the things are that, for sure.
For sure. And lastly, too, what's really interesting as a dynamic that I think a lot of us are experiencing during these times, and that is really up for a lot of people, is the constant feeling like people are just apathetic towards everything, and even feeling apathetic to our own lives. And I think that the same concept of not being present to the moment and being splintered in our focus repeatedly over time can certainly fuel and feed apathy, because we can start to feel like, well, nothing matters because I've been doing all of these things and it didn't get me to where I wanted to be. I've had this worry and nothing changed. And if we continue to perpetuate those dynamics within ourselves that feed these stories that it doesn't matter anyways. I've lived with those stories for long periods of my life where nothing that I do is going to change anything. Everything is always going to stay the same. Nothing matters. Why do I even try? And if you're prone to that kind of thinking, this certainly would be a tool or a tip that I would encourage for you, because it's so easy in life, especially these days, to find affirmations for what we believe to be true about our lives in the negative space. It's so easy for me to find a confirmation that I'm not good enough, or that my book isn't going to be sold, or that no one cares about this, or that no one's going to watch the podcast, or that everyone hates me. Like it's really easy to find the not the clues. It like I can find confirmation of that anywhere in the external world, and I know that I'm prone to it, which would lead me then to be, well, so why do I even try? What does it matter anyways? Why does it matter if I take the pause or do any of this? It doesn't matter. And so I know within myself that I have to counteract that in order to not fall into my own apathy, into my own self-pity, into my own self-doubt, and into my own procrastination of why would I do this, which then leads me to not doing anything. And so being present and taking the pause, and then also being super intentional with myself, builds that confidence so that I don't fall into those loops. And I think that,
so good.
you know, this presence really is the antidote to apathy, especially if you're prone to it.
I think it's so important, Michelle, everything that you just said. And I for me, it starts with truly being vigilant. And, you know, I know that's kind of a strong, powerful word, being vigilant.
Like, be a vigilante of your own life.
Yeah. Well, being vigilant with the mind, you know, everything always goes back to the mind, but just being vigilant when we say something to ourselves that is so destructive or so negative or so uncomplimentary or unkind, all of those things. It really is a practice of the minute that you say that, you take the pause and you start talking to yourself. Wait a minute, Barb. What is happening right now? What is it that's making you feel this way? How are you feeling? Like, if you just, I know I feel like a broken record sometimes, and I feel like I hope that this isn't so boring. Oh my gosh, she says the same thing all the time, but it's so powerful. It is the answer. And we were looking for, you said it earlier, you said, we're looking for clues. We're looking for what is the gold at the end of the rainbow? What is the one thing that I can start to do to start seeing some benefits where I don't feel so overwhelmed all the time? Or what are some of those things we can do? And I think truly, truly, truly is intercepting. We have to find a way to intercept those negative, unproductive, false, thoughts in the mind. And for me, the way to do that and the way to overcome this apathy of nothing matters, I don't matter, anything that I do anyway is not going to make a difference. I've been doing the same thing over again and it's not really working. Well, it helps you by taking that pause. Think you'll be able to think of what's a different thing that I could do that might make a change. And what's another little different thing that I can do that might make a change. It truly is the key to all of the things that we're looking for, because I think when we're feeling apathetic, we need to pivot.
Yeah.
When we're feeling apathetic, when I say, Barb, you're feeling a little bit down, is the first thing I usually say. And what's causing you to feel down? And I'll say, well, I'm feeling like the things that I'm doing aren't working. That's usually my word, working. It's not working what I'm trying to do in life. And then I just kind of play that out in my mind. I realize you're feeling a little bit down. You're feeling a little bit apathetic. And the minute I get to the answer, oftentimes you don't need to get to the answer, but the minute I get to, oh, you know what? I could do a version of this, because I get a little bit creative, a little bit curious. I could do a version of this. The awareness, just the light just opens up to so much. If apathy, if presence is the antidote to apathy, it opens so much more energy, and so much more fun is the word that keeps coming to me. Is fun. And then I turn it around.
Life does become more fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to try this new thing that I thought of.
Yeah, and what came to me as you were talking to is something that I think about often in my life is, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten.
Yes.
And it's like, yes, the habits that you engage with dictate a lot of your life. But if your life feels like it's not working, or that you're overwhelmed or anxious or burned out, what can you do to make a change? Because continuing in the same way isn't going to change anything. You have to be the initiator of making a shift or doing something a little bit differently to have a different lived experience. And so what is it that you can do today or in this moment to shift that and hopefully see, a little positive outcome here and there, and keep building and building? really is like the key to all of it, for
Yeah.
me at least.
Yeah, and you start to have the confidence or the resilience, and the energy to feel that little spark of I can do this. And
Yeah.
not only can I do this, I'm really great at doing this. And I feel like that apathy and boredom goes hand in hand. I have to say, I remember when we were spending an enormous amount of time teaching, working with teenagers and working with college students and working with younger generations, that boredom came up a lot.
Yeah.
That kids are bored and that people are bored. And boredom is not something, I guess I shouldn't say I've never felt boredom, but I've never settled into boredom because I've either
You're
been
always on the go.
well, I've either been in earlier in life really beating myself up enough and can't really be bored. You get really down and you get really pessimistic and all of that when you're not in a good space of knowing that, you're not, you do matter. Knowing when you start to realize that you do matter, you start to recognize that feeling like I didn't matter for all those years, I didn't really necessarily felt bored.
You didn't have time to be bored.
No. And I think the other is true when you're actually being creative and feeling confident and resilient and feeling like the boss of your own life. I guess my earlier business days have always keep me in that realm of saying, I want to be the boss of my own life. And you said that to me when you were, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old. One day I said, hurry up, Michelle, we got to go to school. And you said, you're not the boss of me. So boss is kind of a big word in my life. And I want to be in charge. I want to feel like I have some control.
Yeah.
I am a control person.
Yes, you are.
And when I realized I don't have control over much, it made me even more energized and more confident and more resilient and more wanting to at least be successful and be good really confident and good at the things that I could control. So even that little shift, I hope that helps you see, if you're listening to this and watching us, even that little shift, that what are the things that I can control? What are the things that I want to be really extraordinary at in the external world? It's going to continue to build your confidence, build your resilience, build all the things that we need to live the successful, happy life. Because happiness was always my thing. People would ask me back in the day, are you happy? I had no idea. I didn't even know what that word meant.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to be successful. I knew I wanted to be thought of and think that I mattered. But if you asked me if I was happy back in my early days, I couldn't even answer that question.
Yeah.
And now today it's key. It's one of the top 5 things in my life. I want to feel that joy and that happiness that I'm being, that I really know who I am and I'm being the best version of who I am, and that I'm making the choices and taking the actions, and that I have control over what I can control.
Yeah.
And I let everything else go. I'm not saying that it's easy to let things go that you can't control, but I really understand. I don't have that fight with myself. I can control this, even though people tell me that I can't.
Yeah. So true.
So talk about happiness a little bit, because I love when we talk about that.
What about happiness?
Just what are some of the roots and what are some of the ways that we can actually feel not just the joy and the happiness we feel like when you graduated from college. That was one of the most extraordinary joys and happiness. And of course, my most incredible pride and happiness and joy of you releasing your first book.
Thank you.
November 4th on your 40th birthday. That has brought me extraordinary happiness and joy. But just like even some of those fleeting moments of happiness that we can get watching a sunset or,
it's like when we talk about the tiny joys, it's, being so present to life that you let yourself feel happiness in things that aren't those big moments, and finding those in-betweens, because they are around us always. And it's not about reaching goals and milestones, although those are certainly very happy moments. But if you catch yourself living or waiting to feel happy when you achieve something, you're going to be having stretches of your life where you're unhappy. And I think you deserve to feel happiness and content. Sometimes happy seems too extremes, but maybe content or at peace or joyful at all stages of life. And so how can you start to bring that in or usher that in the everyday moments, and really seeking that out as a practice for sure.
I love that you said that there's happiness and tiny joys all around, but we're usually missing it because we're not being present.
Yeah.
Our mind is scattered. Yeah. And I think that's why I wanted you to bring up that, and that even that when you said all that, content, joy, happiness, one of the words I've been using lately is satisfied.
I like that.
Yeah. I think it came...
Hamilton?
Yes, I never even thought about Hamilton was one of my favorite plays
You've watched
of all
that a
time.
lot
I watched
and
that during the pandemic, I think almost
satisfied.
every single day.
Yep.
Just satisfied because there's a piece of us that are looking for what's next, what's next, what's next, and have I achieved and have I accomplished and am I there? Did I get there? And I remember even during the pandemic, I think watching that play, on TV. But I also feel like there was one moment recently where I just was sitting there and I was in my quiet space and I just felt an overwhelming feeling of satisfied. Like I feel really satisfied, which brings us to that space of happiness or joy or contentment.
That it's enough.
Like that it's enough. Like not only satisfaction with my life and all that I do and who I am in the external world, but a satisfaction from the inside out. I think that was the greatest feeling that I had was I'm feeling satisfied and there was no particular reason. It wasn't because I'd done something or achieved something or talked to someone or it wasn't after some big event. It was just in that moment where I felt that satisfaction, feeling satisfied was coming from the inside out. So that's another space of feeling when you are connected. I think bringing back that idea of a deeper connection in the moment and really practicing that I can be focused on what I'm doing and then focused in the next moment. And it doesn't mean that I'm spending, 5 minutes only really thinking about things. Often it means that just for the moment I'm present. For the moment I'm present. And all of these moments, and then happiness and being satisfied and contentment and joy aren't so fleeting. They're states of being. I think
Yeah.
that's where I was feeling satisfied. Like
I
I
love
feel
that.
satisfied. So the feelings that we're having are coming from the inside out, really,
I love
and
that.
not dependent on the external world.
Yeah, I love that you feel satisfied. That's
Yeah.
really nice. I'm happy for you.
What is that? You and I did in trying to help the students. I remember we did a whole session, and we came up with some stats that Matthew Killingsworth and what was it?
A wandering
Yeah,
mind is an unhappy mind.
yeah. Can you
Sure.
read that or talk
Yeah.
to that? Because that also, we're always quotes. I'm the sign lady. I'm the quote lady
Yeah.
on social media, and I think we're always looking for. I love living in this era because science has caught up with what all those great masters and teachers of meditation and mindfulness and being present were teaching for generations has caught up, and we can actually show there's scientific proof. Not that we have to have it because our own, experiences are enough because we can feel the benefits, but it's also nice to tie it. And when we found this particular research that these two gentlemen did at Harvard, it blew my mind. I loved it.
Killingsworth and Gilbert researched at Harvard and said that a human mind is a wandering mind, and a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. So, really that key to happiness is starting to bring back the mind from its wandering.
Yeah, and it ties to what we just talked about,
Yeah.
that we can feel more satisfied and happy when we're being present, when we're focusing and being focused, and those happiness and those tiny joys that you talk about that sometimes are elusive or we don't notice them or we don't see them. We actually do see them and feel them more often than not.
Yeah.
And they're actually present more often than we know.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they, in that research, felt like, obviously we know the human mind is a wandering mind. We already know that. But the thought that a wandering mind is an unhappy mind is extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's
It
something to really
it is
reflect
powerful
on.
to think about it. And so, wrapping up this conversation of really what are the takeaways here, I love that we've touched on that, what we worry about isn't an indicator of what is to come. That so much of what we worry about probably won't happen, but if it does, we can handle it. And if you're feeling anxious or uncertain about your life because of anxiety or worry, how can you start to identify these parts of your life and remind yourself that you've got it or you can handle what life puts in your path, and building up that confidence muscle there, which is huge. It's a practice. It's not easy, but it starts with recognizing it one moment to one moment to one moment, and completing those small tasks that can, create more space in your brain for creativity or productivity or or doing the things that you want to do that you've been putting off, that procrastination because just don't want to do something. How can you take a small action to ease that anxiety or that loop in your mind going round and round and round? And, lastly, that antidote to apathy is presence. And when we're more present to our lives and are more aware of the tiny joys and the small wins and the small steps that we can take moment to moment, you will feel more invested and more in control of certain aspects of your life, but also that you're an active player in your life and that you want to be and show up for your life right now in this moment, because this moment is where we have all of our power, but this moment matters the most. And so what will you do right now that will then influence the next and the next and the next?
I love that, Michelle. I would just leave everyone with that. I believe this strongly, that the relationship you have with yourself is the most important relationship that you have. And it's the foundation of everything that you do in life. So take up a practice of talking to yourself.
I love it. Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey friends, I am so excited that my book, Dear Friend, is coming out so very soon. I've put so much love and effort and intention into this book, from the cover, the outside of it. I wanted it to feel like something you would want to have in your home, as well, of course, as the messages that are inside. It's a daily inspirational book with messages that you would want to hear from your dearest, closest friend. My book comes out November 4th, which also happens to be my birthday. So it would mean the world to me if you pre-ordered my book and maybe gave it to a friend or a loved one. Thank you so much again for your support. I absolutely cannot wait for you to read it.